Today, I'm going to make your inward dive pike better in less than 15 minutes. We're going to go over 401B from beginner all the way to advanced and talk about what's changing throughout a diver's journey to get to the expert level. I make these videos because I wish I had something like this when I started my diving career, and I want you to be better off. So if you like the content, please hit the subscribe button and let's get to it. Starting right here with the fake looking palm tree and the inward dive. It's not really pike, but this is a very, very beginner level inward dive to start with. And as you can see, she doesn't really do an arm circle, and she starts falling back immediately, sitting back, and then pushes her body very far away. One of the trends that you'll see throughout this is the angle of the legs getting pushed away and the hips going out rather than up. Her arms are going backwards rather than forwards and down into a pike or the tuck, and then there is no defined out, and she's kind of wild going in, losing her legs and not grabbing either. So this is a very, very basic and beginner level inward dive, just to give you some context of where it begins. And now let's move on to the second person. All right, this looks like a high school meet potentially, and it's significantly better than the first person. As you can see, she oscillates pretty well, does an arm circle, and as she's arm circling, her arms start to break, and you see a bend at the elbows, where you really want to see longer arms and a deeper squat, kind of pushing the board down a little bit more. And you see that she begins to push early right here, where she's trying to leave the board before the board is ready to push her away. This is super important to use the board to its fullest potential and use the maximum board ride you can. Another big thing that she does wrong is look down early. So we're talking about her leaving the board early with her legs. You can see also right here that she's looking down for the water very quick, rather than driving up, keeping her eyes across the board at the back wall and then taking the board up and then down for the water. She's kind of going straight for the water early. So the lineup is okay. It starts to go over, and instead of pike saving, she actually scoops and does a knee save, which doesn't really make sense for the situation. I'm curious if she had her hands all the way together. She's not swimming properly for a pike save, and my guess is that her core is not tight enough as she goes in the water either. So very interesting with the knee save there. She probably hasn't learned how to pike save properly yet, and that's just something she'll learn along the way. This young man does a better job of keeping his arms straight on the arm circle, which I love. He's a little bit quick bringing the arms down. He can pause and wait a little bit longer to squat a little bit deeper before the arms start circling. A lot of people early on in their diving career on all categories will circle their arms before they're supposed to. Everybody tends to do that early. The more patience you have and the longer you wait, the faster you'll actually be able to bring your arms through, and it will actually give you more power. Anyways, he cuts off his arms a little early. He gets to about 10 o'clock and starts throwing forward, which is okay, but you'd like to see him get a little bit more extended up and lean into the board a little bit more so that he keeps it a little bit closer. So he's pushing away a little bit, but even this is much less of an angle than the first girl that we saw, where she was pushing her hips back very far. And you can see the difference here that he's kind of going up more at a 45-degree angle, so he's still moving up and away, but it's a little bit too far. His pike isn't super deep due to flexibility issues, and he comes out without going wide first and squaring out. He lines up for the entry. It does look like a tight lineup, which is great. He starts to lose his feet as he goes in, and I don't think he's swimming to the side efficiently. In other words, it's kind of a more lazy entry, and it's probably also because he hasn't really learned how to pike save properly. But okay, let's move on. This looks like a junior club meet, and she does a much better job of staying over the board and getting into a deeper pike, lining up for the entry, a decent rip as well. But let's see where she goes wrong. She also starts her arms a little bit early. You see her arms are moving down right now before her knees even start to bend. You want to start bending the knees a little bit before the arms start swinging, and then look at the bent arms at the top, which is okay. It's okay to have bent arms at the top of the throw, but you want to make sure that they straighten out all the way before you throw, or else you look like this and you have T-Rex arms on the throw. You really want to have long and powerful straight arms when you're throwing for any dive, because you're losing all the power and strength that comes from long levers. She does a better job of keeping her eyes and head up, so she gets a little bit more air off the board, and she gets into a very nice pike, which I love. She squares out even, and then lines up laterally, but it's a little bit in front as well with her arms. Lineup is great toe point, just a little bit splashy, so I think she just needs a little bit more work on her entries and how to get tight and swim in that initial phase of the pike save. All right, skipping ahead. This is more of a junior national champion kind of level or college level. You can see already how much more patient the press is. You can see he starts to bend his legs a little bit more in time with his arms, so he's squatting down and then circling a little bit more. He comes through with bent arms, but the difference here is he gets all the way up to 12 o'clock with the arm placement, and his arms / hands get all the way extended out straight before the throw happens. Way more power, way more strength, and you can see how much taller he is off the board, how much more height he gets. Head placement is decent. I'd say he actually goes down a little early too with the head. He can keep his eyes and gaze up a little bit longer. Beautiful deep pike, squaring out to the side and lining up as he's dropping. So here's another aspect of an advanced diver, where on voluntaries, you're finishing the position at the top of the dive at the maximum peak and then straighten out for the majority of the drop time. So you're showing off your lines a lot more. Look at the difference here between his straightened out position where he is in the air in comparison to his peak, not very far off, giving him a ton of drop time and just time to squeeze for the entry, which makes entries easier and better overall, as opposed to the previous person. This is her peak, and she's straightened out down here, right before she gets in the water, and that's partially why her splash is a little bit heavier, because she doesn't have as much time to squeeze out and get long for the entry. He does a great lineup, squeeze, and pike save. All right, last but not least, we have an Olympic event with a really, really nice inward dive. There were a lot of inward dives in the synchro event in 2012 that I looked through, and this one was one of my favorites. The person that's closest to us has an amazing line when she pops out of that pike, which I really liked. You can see that she also starts her squat in time with the arm circle. She keeps her hips up and over the ankles, showing that straight line off the start. So her ankles, hips, and shoulders are all in a straight line, which is super important to keeping balance on the board. And look at the angle her legs are pushing off at. It's higher than 45 degrees. It's probably about 60 to 70 degrees, where she's not pushing her hips and butt back out into the pool. She's really driving up as high as she can into the air, which is amazing. Her arms are out super wide, in line with her body, so they're not taking away from her body line and also not taking away from the pike position. In other words, her arms are out of the way and they're not blocking the rest of her body from view. And especially if you're getting into a deep pike, you want to show off that pike without any hindrance or any obstruction to it. So keeping the arms out of the way is both better for the entry and also better for the flight in terms of judging. She snaps out of the dive really well. She doesn't go archy either. She's able to keep a very nice straight body that has a tight core all the way through the entry. She lines up great, straight in. You can see the swim occurring. So as she's going in, you see the bubbles getting pushed out to the side and the pike save. Take a look at this angle where you can see her arms actually moving to the side. And this is what a pike save is supposed to look like. A lot of people don't understand what's happening underneath the surface, which I'm going to do a video on in the future for you guys. But you can see she's locked out right here. She's got a flat palm, no space between the shoulders, arms, and her ears. So her head is completely squeezed airtight between her arms. So she's not bringing down extra air with her. And then as soon as she hits, she explodes to the side. She's squeezing her triceps to keep a straight arm so that her arms don't break down and pushing all the air laterally to the side. You see the arms immediately go out to the side, the white bubbles going with them. All of the air that she's bringing down into the water with her is getting pushed out to the side. And that's why you get less splash, because you're spreading out all the air that is going down with you. This means that it won't all come up at once, which is what a big splash typically is. All right, so that's 6 examples from beginner all the way to advanced. If you like that video, hit the subscribe button. I'll be posting more videos every week and getting towards harder dives as time goes on too. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.